Hey everybody, Beardo here, coming at you with this week's Death of the Family special coverage here on MINUTIA MINUTE. This week, the only book that came out was Catwoman number 14, and it had a lot to live up to it, coming out of Batman and Batgirl number 14 last week. Now, last month, I really enjoyed Catwoman. I thought that it was kind of a quirky way to sort of introduce us into the Joker. You just kind of got a little glimpse of him. You got this big chess game going on throughout the city, and I was curious to see where that was headed. Well, the fact of the matter is, it was basically headed nowhere. The events of 13 really have virtually no effect on the events of 14. The only difference between 13 and 14 is 13 is just something for Catwoman to do until Joker shows up, and 14 is the Joker showing up. And the thing that really made this book especially lackluster was everything that happens between Catwoman and the Joker is really just a lot of talking in circles, acting in circles, and not a whole lot really ultimately happening in terms of the greater Death of the Family story arc. There's really nothing in this issue that stood out as something that's going to have any impact on anything going on with the greater Batman titles at large. So overall, Catwoman issue number 14 was a big disappointment. In the story, the Joker basically, throughout the course of the issue, Joker's trying to come up with 5 ways to skin a cat. And he does find his 5 ways, but I would like to offer an alternative, and it's 5 reasons to skin this book from your playlist. So without further ado, here are the 5 reasons. First up, number 1. Now, this first reason may seem really superfluous, but I gotta say, it drove me nuts, and it's very prevalent throughout the whole issue. This is just one very good example of it, and that is Joker's surfer hair. The way the coloring on this is, the highlights, the sort of digital coloring on this really did not help Joker's hair, and seriously, it looks like he's a surfer from the 80s. I mean, his hair is more in common with Nuclear Man from Superman 4 than anything I've seen the Joker look like lately. And especially since they've been going for this like crazed serial killer look with his face, stapled to his body. That makes this surfer hair especially irritating, especially annoying, and really takes away a lot of the the gut-wrenching fear you have of the Joker just when you see him walk in with this ridiculous poofy hair that he has throughout the entire issue. Takes away a lot of tension, which is very, very disappointing. While we're on the subject of Joker not being very menacing, another really good example of that in this issue is the amount of dialogue the Joker pontificates throughout the course of this issue. This issue is actually dually narrated by Catwoman and the Joker, plus you have the Joker just, like I said, pontificating to no end, which wouldn't be so bad. I mean, the Joker is known for that kind of thing, but the dialogue he has isn't particularly scary, and it is beyond excess. Over the course of 22 pages, the Joker had well over 100 dialogue boxes or balloons throughout the course of this story. Just an inordinate number of dialogue boxes for him, and especially since he really only appears in about half to 2/3 of the issue, that's just an extremely excessive amount. Now, out of that 100 or so dialogue boxes that he has, there was really only one thing he said that was particularly creepy or Joker-like. Not to say that he wasn't necessarily Joker-like, but he was someone, his dialogue comes off as someone who's trying to write the Joker, not someone who's just writing the Joker. And I think you'll see what I mean when you read this. I don't have any specifics I want to particularly share with you. It was all pretty drab and uninteresting. The only thing I liked really from him in this whole issue was the whole bit about rigor mortis, and I won't say anything else about that because I don't want to spoil the only really great thing about this book. I wish that it was just as simple as, well, the Joker's dialogue is bad in this, but the fact of the matter is his entire character is really off base in this. And to put that into perspective, in Batman 13, you've got him killing police left and right, killing the mayor. In Batman 14, he poisons a whole bunch of people. He poisons the reservoir. He's, beating on Harley in Suicide Squad. He's emotionally torturing her in Batman. This new Joker that Scott Snyder has introduced is as merciless as the Joker has ever been. And in this particular issue, Catwoman 14, he does something that is unbelievably menacing. The most menacing thing ever. That is the number 3 reason why you shouldn't be buying this comic. And that is, he paints bat symbols all over Catwoman's body. Yes, it's cheesecake, and that maybe is a reason to pick it up, I suppose. But the fact of the matter is, the Joker is basically playing a practical joke by getting her to put on a Catwoman costume that has bat paint all over it. Really? Come on, seriously. And it wouldn't be so bad if Joker was the only person that was completely out of character, but the fact of the matter is, Catwoman is written completely out of character in this as well. Catwoman is a jewel thief. She's someone who, thinks of herself first always. And even as she's become, less a villain, less an anti-hero, and even just a straight-up hero, that's something that, she's always had that in her character, which is that, she always thinks of herself first. And even if she decides to, do the right thing, she has to think about it first. And reason number 4 is just a really, really good example as to just how badly her character is written in this. Towards the end of the book, the Joker asks, well, why don't you just marry Batman, basically, in so many words. And in her inner monologue, Catwoman thinks, the thoughts cross my mind, but, ugh, all that sameness and security and safety, I'd bolt. I'd hurt him. Really? Like, the only reason she doesn't want to marry Batman is because she knows she's a flighty type and she would feel bad because she'd hurt him? That's just retarded. Okay, so there's really only one more reason you really shouldn't buy this book, and this is something that I said with Phantom Stranger. In Phantom Stranger number 1, you had no sense of geography. There were no establishing shots. It was just a lot of sort of flurried activity that you couldn't tell heads from tails, and it was just completely confusing. So reason number 5 is sort of the best example of that, which comes towards the end of the book. As you can see, Catwoman here is sort of perched on a ledge overlooking the city when she sees this arrow pop out and, come next to her. Obviously, the Joker is on her tail. And all of a sudden, this truck comes out of nowhere on the on the cityscape. And I get that it's the Joker and it's supposed to be crazy, but what is the geography of this? Like, what is going on? No, seriously, what's going on? She's in scaffolding. She gets run over by a truck in scaffolding and falls to her doom in some water pool somewhere with wind-up piranha fish. What? So anyway, as you can tell, I really didn't particularly care for Catwoman 14 this week. I didn't really like Batgirl 13, and I came down on that book really hard, but that book kind of has a defense because it was wrapping up prior commitments, and it was leading into the Death of the Family story arc, and Batgirl 14 was excellent. With Catwoman 14, you don't really get that excuse because the stuff that happened in 13 didn't have an effect on 14. 14, the stuff happened, but it didn't really mean all that much in the scheme of things. And on top of that, we're full in Death of the Family territory here, and it just isn't doing that much. The big problem with this, there are Joker elements in it. He pontificates a lot in this. Like, that's the reason I said you shouldn't get the book. But the pontification he has is just endless babbling and telling bad jokes and not being very menacing. The fact that he is talking so much and not really doing much makes him not very menacing. When he, paints all of the bat symbols, all over Catwoman's body, like, that's a Joker-like practical joke for sure. But this is Death of the Family. This is where Joker is going to tear down the family bit by bit. And the way apparently he's going to do that in Catwoman is by painting stuff all over her body. Like, it just takes the tension that we've built up in Batman and Batgirl and just kind of lets out all that steam. Now, as readers, we know that this is going to be a long-fought battle. It's going to be hard-fought. It's going to be brutal. But if we didn't know better and we were just reading and we were expecting, something else, and you open Catwoman, all of that momentum kind of gets pulled out. And really, the big problem with that is this is an unnecessary book to the story. Like, this doesn't really have that much impact on the overall death of the family story, yet its inclusion, if you really take it seriously, detracts from the tension that they're building in the book. So anyway, that's why I really didn't like Catwoman overall. The 5 reasons I had with, the surfer hair and the, all the little things, those are nitpicky, admittedly. But when you boil it down, this is a book that is bad because it detracts from the overall intent of the story that Scott Snyder and company are telling. Even though it fulfills some of the basic criteria, you get the Joker, you get him doing Joker-like things, overall, it all kind of falls apart when you really look at it closely. So anyway, Catwoman 14, not worth the pickup this week. I would just skip it if I were you. I'm not sure how much more she's tying in, but I will be back to cover it if she comes back, and I will let you know next month if it was all worth it. So anyway, this is Beardo signing off. Hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry for the rant, and I'll talk to you all very soon.